Hope all of you are doing well and preparing well for the upcoming examinations. And we have seen that over the last few days there were issues highlighted in correction. It started with SFM. We also got a few papers on SFM, also on financial management, and also on other subjects. Theory becomes sometimes subjective, but when we say issues in practical papers, it is really difficult and it is really heartbreaking. This issue we raised earlier also in 2019 as well, along with others, and now also I think it is the appropriate time to highlight these issues to the institute so that appropriate corrective measures will be taken by the ICAI, right? So in this regard, we are also submitting a memorandum. We have our own viewpoint based on our own experiences with the students and past association with ICAI. Some suggestions which can be implemented, and I think that will go a long way in improving the way the examinations are conducted and also papers are evaluated. Your thoughts, Sriram?
Yes. So students, I think the issues what you have been hearing over the last few days or probably weeks on the social media, they definitely deserve the attention of ICAI, and it is incumbent upon us as faculty to take and highlight these issues, take them to the institute and see whatever best corrective action is possible. So in this regard, I and Suraj, we have drafted a memorandum which we are going to submit to the ICAI. This contains our list of suggestions as Suraj was highlighting, and these consist certain these memorandum consists a bunch of points. We will take them. We will take you guys through them. And these points, some of them are, require changes in system, changes in processes, changes in thinking, changes in outlook, and all of that. So we suggest that, we actually humbly request ICAI to take these suggestions in the positive spirit and, consider them when they are, looking at trying to see how best they can serve the students who are, preparing for exams, writing exams, and so on and so forth. So why don't we take them through the, our suggestions?
So, one thing is obviously because it is a paper-based correction, manual correction. So there is a lot of manual intervention that happens, and sometimes, especially in theory, it becomes subjective, right? I may give 3 marks, somebody else may give 2 marks. But the problem is when students who deserve even 2 or 3 marks, when they are given 1 mark or not even a single mark. And this time the thing that hurt me the most, in fact personally also, that how can students not be given marks for a rounding off difference where there are not even consistencies in whether it should be 3 decimal or 2 decimal. If you do it on Excel, you'll get a different answer altogether. So I think time has come, been with this course for the last 20 years, and it is time that changes are made in the right direction. And 3 years back they had formed a committee, and then they had suggested some changes. Some of them were implemented, some of them are not implemented. One continuous stand that ICAI keeps on taking is this particular regulation number 39.4, where they say that we will not re-evaluate. Okay, even if you take up an issue, they will say we will not re-evaluate, which is I think unfair on the part of the institute and also for the candidates. So based on that, made a lot of list of suggestions which they can implement. The first one being the model solutions or the marking scheme, what you may call. It should be available for public comments. Now, when we say public comments, it could be comments by the students, it could be comments by the faculties, other professionals, right? Now, if you look at any other exam, for example, if you look at IIT, entrance exams, there also solutions are made public and they call for comments, because there may be a possibility that the question may have multiple answers based on assumptions, right? Even in an MCQ based exams like IIT, I remember when I wrote CAT, a particular question was not solvable. Okay, so unless you release the answer keys to the public, it is very difficult for us to assess in the limited resources. Basically, if you look at the panel of examiners, they have their own viewpoint. Maybe the students, the academicians may have a different viewpoint. So you can make that in public, and with the help of that, based on the feedback we give, alternate solutions possible, due marks can be awarded. And this thing around assumptions, a lot of time we get incomplete data, a lot of time we get incomplete information, and the question paper mentions that working note should form part of answer. Candidates are required to make suitable assumptions and solve the question. Now when assumptions are made, there are alternate answers possible, and I think examiners should be instructed. They are instructed, I know they are instructed to award marks, but then this is not being followed religiously. Otherwise The issue that came up, the paper which triggered this thing again after 3 years was that SFM paper. Decimal rounding of difference should not have costed 8 or 10 marks. I don't know what was the 8 marks to the student. So that is one. Another peculiar problem which we see is when the questions involve calculations like valuation of goodwill, valuation of business, ESOP accounting, where if you do a calculation mistake at one step, the remaining all steps would go wrong and the candidate should not get marks. So here also I think ICAI should take steps to ensure that if your formulas are correct, if the remaining steps are correct, okay, just because step 2 was incorrect, let us say for example, I think we use this in SFM Forex chapter,
Yes.
right, where you have 7 or 8 steps.
Correct.
So let us say step 2 to step 9 are correct. Step 1 there is a calculation error. Some marks should be awarded there because the student knows the concept. We should not be unnecessarily penalizing them. And for this, I think we need to also increase the ability of the examiners to value such kind of scenarios. That is one. You have anything to add in this stepwise
in this,
thing?
I think so ICAI focuses a lot on stepwise, stepwise submission of answers or what students write. They keep on saying that the solution has to have stepwise. It should be stepwise. Marks are awarded stepwise and all of that. If you're not going to award marks stepwise, then what is the point of doing it stepwise? If eventually the final answer is what matters, then what is the purpose of doing all this whole stepwise? What is the need for awarding marks stepwise? Right. The very purpose of highlighting that a solution should have stepwise. It should have multiple steps. You should move from one level to another, and you should not do mental calculations. Is to ensure that students don't make mistakes, and even if they make a mistake, the evaluator understands the fact that the student knows the logic. They made one small simple arithmetic or calculation mistake. So I fully agree with Suraj, that should not be the criterion. There should be some marks that should be allotted.
Right. So that was one. Then this is around increasing quantum of MCQs. I think this is a suggestion what they should actually implement. Though we keep on saying CA exam is different, other exams are different, but ultimately the accountancy examinations internationally, they have evolved a lot. Okay, I have seen myself from paper based or descriptive writing to objective questions in courses like CIMA and all of that, where the ultimate thing is like you test the knowledge, make complex MCQs. I'll tell you, the same question which is given to you in the exams as a 4 mark or a 5 mark question can be given as an MCQ where you need to arrive at a final answer or a final conclusion, and that can be done. Okay, so you increase the toughness of the MCQs, maybe if you really want to test the students, but then that will reduce a lot of subjectivity on the part of the examination system. I think it is a sad thing that sometimes what happens is even in objective type questions we get multiple answers. Okay, so that also needs to be taken care.
Yeah. In fact, in that point, if you look at most of the other international exams, for example, CPA or CFA, CFA at least what I have done, there are. I'm not saying there are no descriptive questions or descriptive solutions that have written, but there are a lot of questions with case-based MCQs, and the cases, believe me, are really complex. Why go that far? Let us take CAT. CAT in India, the kind of case studies is really mind-boggling. I mean, CAT is also a test of speed, but ignoring the speed part, there is a lot of stuff that can be done by giving you complex and detailed case studies and then asking questions. So I think this is one thing where we will, at least I believe, that ICAI could take the step in the right direction for increasing the objectivity scope and reducing the scope of subjectivity.
Right, so that is one, and yes, this is one of the most important aspect. Allow re-evaluation of paper. Maybe charge a higher sum, maybe charge 500,000 per paper, but then give this opportunity to the student wherever the student feels that okay, I didn't get marks, and had I got those 4 marks or 5 marks extra, I would have passed or I would have scored an exemption. See, there are 2 categories of student. One category of student is the one where even after improving the marking, they may not pass. Okay, I've seen the papers. I've seen the kind of papers that come. Right, some of them scoring in 15s and 20s and all of that. Even if you add some 10 marks, they'll not pass. But then there are a lot of students who are in the borderline, who may be scoring 38, 39, 58, 59, or aggregate issues. Right, for them, I think it is unjust that if they have written something correctly and we don't award marks for that, that is actually unfair. You can charge 1,000 rupees, that's okay, but then give them an opportunity that yes, it is incorrect. And see, errors can happen, right? Errors can happen. There are so many examiners involved. There may be multiple reasons. examiners not being able to do properly, something else comes up, or some other mistake, oversight, whatever it is. But then if there is a problem, if there is an issue, why not give an opportunity? And I'm seriously not able to understand what is so much protective about this 39(4) that we cannot amend this. See, it's an act of parliament. These are regulations made under MCA guidelines and all of that. What can we not do as a body which is been present since more than 72 years, and 1949 is the act. What is that thing which is preventing us to get this amended? So
in fact I believe so many acts have been amended. Why go so far? Companies Act has been amended. Every year there are amendments in Companies Act. So, right. What is so sacrosanct about ICAI regulation 39(4) that it is more important than Companies Act, and it is more important than Constitution. Constitution itself has been amended so many times. So I don't see the reason. I exactly agree with Suraj on that thing. What is so protective? What is this fear? I don't know what the fear is. Probably they may have fears that may be just, but at least from an external perspective, all the fears are appear unfounded and unjust. Right. So I think ICAI should definitely take the step in right direction. This is 2022, guys. Right.
So and
we should definitely
with technology, with lot of things available, it should be allowed, right? So that is one. Then this one thing, if they can't do this, at least they should be doing this point number 6, which is 100% maker checker concept. Right now it is on a sampling basis. It has to be, it can be 100% maker checker. You need to increase the resources, of course, but then that will reduce the pain that the students are going through. And one thing, this is what I also feel, remuneration of examiners. See, not every examiner would be doing this work of evaluating papers as a service. Okay, I was someone who did it as a service, but not everybody would be doing it as a service. Somebody may be thinking it of as an income stream or opportunity cost. If you pay them 150, 160 rupees per paper, and I'll tell you, if you are evaluating papers online, it takes a longer time. Okay, so even if an examiner is able to value some 3 or 4 papers in an hour properly, what is he getting? 160 into 4 is some 640, 650, 700 rupees per hour. 700 rupees per hour, is nothing actually. Okay, and so if you have to increase if the CA thinks of opportunity cost, he would be charging maybe some 2,000, 3,000 rupees per hour. Then he would obviously want to increase the speed, and then you make blunders, right? So that is one aspect. They have increased it slightly, but I think still it is not commensurate, what we call the term, but we keep on using in audit parlance or accounting parlance. It's not commensurate with the effort that is required, right? So that is one aspect what institute can look into. And also this pool of examiners you should increase. Apart from that, include professors and academic experts. I know there are some professors, academic experts which are a part of the examiners panel, but then you need to increase. You need to get more and more such experts who can value subjects like SFM. Now let me tell you, it's a fact of the matter that if I ask a practicing CA to handle papers like SFM, there will be blunders. Okay, let me tell, unless the practicing CA is so involved in the market, they would not, a practicing CA at a normal level of the work that he or she does, they would not be exposed to things like interest rate swaps or the options or trading or derivatives and all of that, unless they do it on their own. Okay, so in that case we need professors who have have deep academic knowledge in this regard, where they can add value, or where they can give correct marks to the students actually. Okay, so we feel that once qualifying as a CA we are master of all the subjects. No, we are not master of all subjects. In fact, if I have to ask you, Sriram has much more knowledge in options because he has done options personally or as a part of his corporate profile. I don't have such depth knowledge of options. I know what are options and how does the market function. But then you need someone with in-depth knowledge. Don't take teachers. And one thing is, one more thing that comes up is the teachers and ICAI, they work against each other. That is not the thing. We are working for the students, and ICAI also we expect they will be working for the students. So there can be some way where both these stakeholders, we can come together in the interest of the students.
In fact, and this also, this is point number 8, right? So this actually point 8 and 7 are linked. And when you get external experts, right, people who are experts in that field, they won't come to you for this 160 rupees or 600 rupees an hour. If you take it per day, it works to some 4,000, 5,000 rupees. You tell me which examiner who's working in professional field, who has, a lot of knowledge, will work for you for 90,000 or 1 lakh per month kind of fee. How do I get 1 lakh? 8 hours a day you get 6,000 rupees or 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. For 20 days if you evaluate, you'll get 1 lakh. You tell me ICAI qualifying chartered accountants, they want salaries more than 10 lakhs per annum. Right. So you need to increase the pay and get external experts.
Right. So that is one thing. Okay, it's very, very important because only then we can make justice here, and obviously action should be taken. Though they remove examiners from the panel, I think it has to be more aggressive actions, maybe some kind of disciplinary action if possible. Only then there will be that fear that on the examiner side also, I need to do it correctly. And one more aspect, what we think is important is mention why marks have not been awarded on some specific questions or answers. Because while looking at the answer, you would know that some steps are correct, some steps are not correct. You can make a brief note. This is missing, so that student get a feedback and they can implement it in the next attempt. There are some questions on the live thing. Why can't they release model answers instead of such answers? That is also, we don't know why don't they release and all of that. In fact, suggested answers also come up very late, right? So these are the pointers. We're submitting this to ICAI, and hope some of these are implemented. And request to all the students, please, for November students and also for May students, focus on your preparation. These are the things which were there, which are there, which would be there. We will try our best. We have reached out to senior members in CCM, Central Council, whomever we know personally, right? So we have given this feedback to them in person also, and this is also an official submission to them. But students, please focus on preparation. I know there is a risk that you may be a part or you may be a victim of this process, but then it is not that 100% of the system is bad. We have to take care of that 3%, 5% of the system where things are not happening properly. So we pray that things go well with you all, and even ICAI takes notice of this, and then they put in corrective actions in the next examination. Right? Anything else?
No, that's it. So we're going to submit this today, and let us see how this evolves, and we are there with you guys. We are there with students, and we are submitting this in the positive spirit, and we hope that things work out for everyone's best.
Yeah, chalo, thanks a lot. And if you have any more suggestions, you can add it to the comment section, and we will in the next round, whenever we interact, we will be doing that.
Taking this.
Chalo, thank you.
Okay, chalo guys, see you. All the best. Study well for your exams.